I am Jessica Parker, 32, and until last Friday, I was the top client relations manager at Meridian Technologies. 6 years of building trust, solving problems, and making clients feel valued. Then HR sent that email calling my promised bonus an expired subscription as they fired me. What they forgot: the 3 clients worth $12 million annually were not subscribed to Meridian. They were subscribed to me. If you want to see a CEO go from smug to terrified in 3 seconds, stick around. Before I share what happened when I showed him that one email I sent after being fired, let me know where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button. My career at Meridian Technologies spanned 6 years of dedication and relationship building. I started as an entry-level account coordinator fresh out of college with my business administration degree. I was eager, perhaps naive, and absolutely determined to prove myself in the competitive world of enterprise software solutions. Meridian specializes in providing customized management systems to mid-sized and large corporations, primarily in healthcare, finance, and manufacturing sectors. My role initially involved supporting senior team members with client communication and basic problem solving. What made me different was my genuine interest in our clients as people, not just revenue sources. While others focused on metrics and quotas, I remembered details about their families, their challenges, their goals beyond our business relationship. By my second year, I was promoted to account manager after saving a wavering client relationship by personally flying to their headquarters when our system crashed during their quarterly reporting period. I stayed on site for 3 days, sleeping on a couch in their break room until everything was restored. That client, Westbrook Industries, became one of our most loyal advocates. By year 4, I had built a reputation as someone who could transform challenging client situations into opportunities. I was promoted again to senior relationship manager, handling our most valuable and sometimes most difficult clients. I developed a knack for anticipating problems before they arose and creating customized solutions that made clients feel understood. My portfolio grew steadily, and with it, my value to the company. The Meridian I joined was founded on principles of innovation and customer service. Andrew Bailey, the CEO, used to hold monthly town halls where he knew employees by name and celebrated their successes. The company culture was supportive and collaborative. Marcus Reynolds became my direct supervisor in my 3rd year, and we developed a solid working relationship based on mutual respect. He was demanding but fair, pushing me to excel while acknowledging my contributions. "Jessica, what you bring to this company cannot be taught," Marcus told me, after I secured a particularly difficult renewal. "Your ability to connect with people is a rare gift." Then there was Stephanie Williams, who joined the customer success team around the same time I did. We bonded over late nights preparing client presentations and shared frustrations about corporate politics. She became not just a colleague, but a true friend, one of the few people at Meridian who knew both my professional and personal struggles. Diana Foster joined as HR director about 2 years ago, coinciding with what many of us felt was a cultural shift. She brought a coldness to the company, reducing employees to numbers on spreadsheets rather than valued team members. She introduced rigid performance metrics that failed to capture the nuanced relationship building that was Meridian's true strength. The company began changing in subtle ways. Town halls became quarterly, then biannual, and eventually transformed into pre-recorded videos from Andrew. The once innovative product development slowed as resources shifted toward aggressive sales targets rather than customer satisfaction. Team-building events were canceled to focus on core business priorities. I watched with growing concern as colleagues with years of institutional knowledge were quietly let go, replaced by cheaper, less experienced staff who were expected to maintain the same level of service. Client complaints increased, but instead of addressing underlying issues, management implemented a new client retention protocol that focused on contractual obligations rather than relationship repair. Budget cuts became the new normal. Travel for client meetings was restricted, forcing us to rely on video calls when personal presence had been our differentiator. Office supplies were rationed, and the once generous professional development budget vanished. Even the quality of coffee in the break room declined, a small but telling sign of the new priorities. Despite these changes, I remained committed to my clients. When travel was restricted, I paid out of pocket to attend important client milestones. When our gifting budget was eliminated, I sent personal notes instead. I adapted because I believed in the relationships I had built. "You are going above and beyond," Stephanie warned me during one of our lunch breaks. "The company is changing, Jessica. They do not deserve this level of loyalty from you." I dismissed her concerns, convinced that my results would speak for themselves. My client retention rate remained at 98%, when the company average had fallen to 75%. I believed I was indispensable. The first concrete sign of trouble came during the third quarter of last year. Rumors of missed revenue targets circulated. Projects were delayed or canceled entirely. Then came the hiring freeze, followed by whispers of potential layoffs. Still, I felt secure in my position. My clients were stable, happy, and represented significant recurring revenue. If anyone was safe, it would be those of us directly responsible for keeping money flowing into the company. How wrong I was. How devastatingly naively wrong. Last year marked a turning point in both my career and in Meridian's trajectory. The company was struggling to meet growth projections, and pressure from investors was mounting. In a desperate push for new business leadership announced an aggressive incentive program. Any employee who brought in substantial new clients would receive a performance bonus of 7% of the first-year contract value. For someone in my position, this represented a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. While I had always focused on maintaining relationships with existing clients, I saw a chance to leverage my reputation and network to bring in new business. More importantly, I saw a path to financial security that had always seemed just out of reach on my base salary alone. I set my sights on 3 potential clients that I had been nurturing connections with for years: Monroe Enterprises, a healthcare management company expanding their operations; Apex Solutions, a financial services firm in need of better data management; and Fitzgerald Global, a manufacturing conglomerate looking to modernize their systems. Each of these prospects represented millions in potential revenue, but each also had specific concerns about making such a significant technology change. I knew that securing even one would be a challenge. Landing all 3 would be transformative for both Meridian and my career. Monroe Enterprises was my first focus. Their operations director, Laura Thompson, had a son applying to the same university I had attended. When she mentioned his application anxiety during a preliminary meeting, I offered to connect him with alumni and provided insights about the programs. This genuine interest created an opening for deeper business discussions. "Jessica, most vendors just talk about their products," Laura told me after our third meeting. "You actually listen to what we need." After 4 months of careful relationship, building detailed needs analysis, and countless late nights preparing customized demonstrations, Monroe signed a 4-year contract worth $3.5 million annually. It was my first major acquisition, and the company celebrated it with an announcement that highlighted my achievement. Andrew himself sent me a congratulatory email, promising that my bonus would be substantial. Emboldened by this success, I intensified my efforts with Apex Solutions. Their CTO, Michael Rodriguez, was reluctant to switch providers after a bad experience with a competitor. I learned that his wife was undergoing cancer treatment, and without overstepping boundaries, I made sure our meetings accommodated his unpredictable schedule. When I sent a handwritten card expressing support for his family, he called me personally. "Your company is lucky to have someone with your humanity," he said. "It matters more than you know." After 6 more weeks of technical demonstrations, security assessments, and contract negotiations, Apex signed a 3-year deal worth $4 million annually. My second major victory came with another company-wide announcement, an explicit confirmation of my bonus eligibility, in writing from both Marcus and the finance department. Fitzgerald Global presented the greatest challenge. They had been burned by 3 failed implementations with other vendors, and were understandably skeptical. Thomas Fitzgerald, the founder and CEO, insisted on personally overseeing the evaluation process. During our initial meeting, he grilled me relentlessly about every aspect of our system and service capabilities. When a competitor's system failure made headlines during our negotiation period, Thomas called me in a panic, concerned that the same vulnerability might exist in our platform. Though it was Sunday evening, I arranged an emergency call with our security team, walking Thomas through our safeguards and providing honest context about the industry-wide implications. My transparency during this crisis built the final bridge of trust needed. "You could have easily told me what I wanted to hear," Thomas said. "Instead, you told me the truth, even when it was complicated." Fitzgerald Global signed a 5-year contract worth $4.5 million annually, my third and largest acquisition. Combined, these three clients represented $12 million in annual revenue for Meridian, and under the bonus structure, I had earned approximately $840,000. The amount was life-changing. I had been carrying $60,000 in student loan debt that had felt insurmountable on my base salary. Beyond that, I had dreams of buying a home instead of continuing to rent my small one-bedroom apartment. The bonus would make both possible, with money left over to start a proper savings account for the first time in my adult life. My excitement was tempered by subtle changes in how leadership interacted with me. Andrew, once effusive with praise, became increasingly distant. Diana from HR began scrutinizing my expense reports with unprecedented attention. Even Marcus seemed uncomfortable during our one-on-one meetings, avoiding direct questions about when bonuses would be paid. Then came the company-wide meeting announcing a strategic restructuring to optimize operational efficiency and align resources with core business objectives, corporate speak for layoffs. Andrew assured everyone that top performers would be protected, that these changes were necessary to ensure Meridian's long-term success. After the meeting, Marcus pulled me aside. "You have nothing to worry about, Jessica. Your contributions are recognized and valued. These changes will not affect you." His words were reassuring, but his eyes told a different story. Still, I trusted him. I trusted the company I had given 6 years of my life to. I trusted that the promises made would be honored. In the weeks that followed, my meeting invitations decreased. Emails about strategic planning went to colleagues, but not to me. When I raised concerns to Marcus, he assured me it was an oversight, a glitch in the distribution list, nothing to worry about. My anxiety grew, but my dedication to my clients never wavered. I continued providing exceptional service, solving problems, building relationships. When Monroe experienced an issue with our latest update, I stayed online with their team until 2 a.m. to resolve it. When Apex needed customized reporting on short notice, I personally built the templates over a weekend. When Fitzgerald had questions about security protocols, I arranged specialized training for their team. I remember my last normal day at Meridian, with painful clarity. It was a Thursday. I brought in homemade cookies to celebrate my administrative assistant Kimberly's birthday. I had a productive call with Monroe about their upcoming system upgrade. I resolved a billing question for Apex. I confirmed dinner plans with Stephanie for the following week to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of landing my first major client. Everything seemed normal. Everything felt secure. The storm was coming, but the sky still looked clear to my trusting eyes. Friday afternoon at 4:30 p.m., the calendar notification appeared on my screen. Meeting with HR conference room C 5 p.m. No agenda, no explanation, just a mandatory meeting at the end of the day. A knot formed in my stomach as I saved the report I had been working on and gathered my thoughts. Probably just another policy update, I told myself, though I did not believe it. The timing was too suspicious, too calculated. As I walked through the office toward the conference room, I noticed the furtive glances, the hushed conversations that stopped as I passed. Stephanie caught my eye from across the floor and mouthed, "Call me later," with a worried expression. She knew something. They all seemed to know something. Conference room C was the smallest meeting space tucked away in a corner of the building. When I arrived, Diana Foster from HR was already seated, her laptop open, a folder on the table. Marcus sat beside her, eyes fixed on his hands folded in front of him. No one else was present. "Jessica, please have a seat," Diana said without looking up from her screen. Her voice was clinical, devoid of emotion. I sat down across from them, heart pounding, but determined to remain composed. "As part of our continued organizational restructuring, we have made the difficult decision to eliminate your position effective immediately," Diana stated as if reading from a script she had delivered many times before. "This decision is not a reflection on your performance, but a necessary response to current business conditions." The words hit me like physical blows, each one more painful than the last. Eliminated, effective immediately, not a reflection on performance, business conditions. Corporate language designed to distance the company from the human impact of their decision. "I do not understand," I managed to say. "I just brought in $12 million in new business. I was promised a substantial bonus. My clients—" "Regarding your bonus," Diana interrupted, sliding a printed email across the table. "As per company policy, performance bonuses are discretionary and subject to active employment at time of distribution. As your employment is being terminated, Your bonus eligibility has expired. The email was from Diana to the finance department with a copy to Andrew. The subject line read, "Bonus eligibility update," and the body contained a single sentence that would haunt me for weeks. Please note that Jessica Parker's performance bonus should be treated as an expired subscription as her position has been eliminated effective today. An expired subscription. As if my years of dedication, my recent achievements, my promised compensation were nothing more than a magazine subscription that had lapsed. The casual cruelty of the phrasing left me momentarily speechless. "This cannot be legal," I finally said. "I have documentation of the bonus structure. I have emails confirming my eligibility. I have written promises from multiple leaders in this company. The employment contract you signed clearly states that all bonuses are discretionary," Diana replied, her tone unchanged. "Our legal team has confirmed that the company is within its rights to make these decisions based on business necessity." I looked at Marcus, silently pleading for him to say something to defend me, to acknowledge the injustice. He briefly met my gaze before looking away. "I'm sorry, Jessica," he said softly. "This decision came from above. There was nothing I could do." "What about my clients?" I asked. "Monroe, Apex, Fitzgerald. They work with me directly. They expect continuity." "Your accounts will be distributed among the remaining team members," Diana explained. "We have prepared transition documents based on your recent reports. You will not be contacting these clients further, as that would constitute interference with company relationships and could result in legal action." The threat was clear. Stay away from the very relationships I had built, nurtured, and grown. Abandon the people who trusted me without even saying goodbye. "You have until 5:30 to collect essential personal items from your desk. Security will escort you. Your email access has already been disabled, and your company phone will be collected before you leave. Any remaining personal items will be shipped to your home address." 30 minutes. 6 years reduced to 30 minutes with a security guard watching over my shoulder. No opportunity to properly close projects, to explain to clients, to say goodbye to colleagues who had become friends. The walk to my desk felt like a funeral procession. Eyes followed me, some with sympathy, others averting their gaze in discomfort or fear they might be next. The security guard, Joseph, was apologetic but firm. "Just following protocol, Miss Parker. Nothing personal." I gathered my family photos, a few personal notebooks, and the small plant Stephanie had given me on my last work anniversary. My desk had been my home away from home for 6 years, and now I was being rushed through, collecting the fragments of my professional life, like a shoplifter caught in the act. The drive home passed in a blur. I do not remember the traffic, the weather, or parking my car. I only remember sitting on the floor of my apartment, still in my work clothes, surrounded by the pathetic collection of items that represented all I had to show for 6 years of dedication. The phone rang at 7 p.m., Stephanie calling as promised. "Jessica, I am so sorry. We just found out an hour before it happened. They made us all sign confidentiality agreements this morning. I wanted to warn you, but—" "It is okay," I said, though nothing was okay. "I understand." "It is not just you," she continued, her voice low, as if afraid of being overheard. "They cut 15% of the staff today, mostly people with bonuses pending or higher salaries. The quarterly numbers are worse than anyone is admitting. The board is putting pressure on Andrew to cut costs before the report goes public next week." The realization hit me with sickening clarity. I was not eliminated because of restructuring or changing business needs. I was eliminated because I was expensive, because paying me the bonus I had earned would impact the quarterly report that would be scrutinized by investors. I was sacrificed for a spreadsheet, for a temporary boost to the bottom line. "What about the clients I brought in?" I asked. "Who is handling them now?" "They split them between 3 junior managers," Stephanie replied, "none of whom have experience with accounts that size. It is a mess, Jessica. Nobody knows the details of those relationships like you do." The injustice of it all finally broke through my shock. Tears came hot and angry as the full weight of the betrayal crashed down on me. 6 years of loyalty, $12 million in new business, a promised bonus that would have changed my life, all erased with a single phrase: expired subscription. The weekend passed in a haze of grief, anger, and disbelief. I fluctuated between tears and rage, between plotting elaborate revenge fantasies and falling into despondent lethargy. I ignored calls from numbers I did not recognize, unwilling to face the outside world until I could process what had happened. By Sunday evening, exhaustion had replaced the sharpest edges of my anger. I began the practical tasks of updating my resume, checking my savings to calculate how long I could pay rent without income, and researching my legal options regarding the denied bonus. The lawyer I consulted online was not encouraging, explaining that discretionary language in employment contracts often protected companies in these situations, regardless of verbal or email promises. Monday morning, my personal phone began ringing at 8:30 a.m. The caller ID showed Laura Thompson, Monroe Enterprises. I hesitated, remembering Diana's thinly veiled legal threat about contacting clients. But Laura was calling me, not the other way around. Surely answering my own phone could not be construed as interference. "Hello, Laura," I answered, trying to sound normal despite the knot in my stomach. "Jessica, thank goodness. I have been trying to reach you since Friday afternoon. Your email is bouncing back, and when I called your office, they gave me some runaround about you no longer being with the company. What is going on?" The concern in her voice was genuine. This was not just a client checking on their account manager. This was someone who considered me a trusted advisor, perhaps even a friend. "I was let go on Friday," I said, simply seeing no value in corporate euphemisms. "It was unexpected. I apologize for not being able to inform you personally." "Let go?" Laura sounded incredulous. "You just secured a multi-million-dollar contract for them. My son got into his top-choice school largely thanks to the alumni connections you helped him make. How could they possibly let you go?" "Cost-cutting measures before quarterly reporting," I explained, repeating what Stephanie had told me. "And apparently my bonus for bringing in Monroe and the other new clients was an expired subscription, since I am no longer employed there." The line went quiet for a moment before Laura spoke again, her voice tight with anger. "That is absolutely unacceptable. Who is handling our account now?" "I was told it would be distributed to the remaining team. I am not sure who specifically. Some junior associate called me this morning. Nice enough, but clearly has no idea about our implementation timeline or the customizations we discussed. Jessica, we signed with Meridian because of you, not their product. There are a dozen similar platforms we could have chosen." Her words triggered a realization that should have been obvious all along. These clients had not chosen Meridian. They had chosen me. They trusted me. They valued the relationship we had built. The company had not just taken away my job and bonus. They had severed connections that were fundamentally personal, not institutional. Before I could respond, my call waiting beeped. Michael Rodriguez from Apex Solutions. "Laura, can I call you back? I have another call coming in that might be related to this situation." "Of course. But Jessica, do not worry about violating any non-compete nonsense. We will be reviewing our options regarding this contract if they cannot provide the level of service you promised." My conversation with Michael followed a similar pattern. He was confused and concerned about my sudden disappearance. When I explained what had happened, including the expired subscription comment about my bonus, his reaction was even more vehement than Laura's. "My wife is finally in remission," he said, his voice tight with emotion. "You were the only vendor who seemed to understand what we were going through during that time. The cards you sent, the flexibility with meetings around her treatment schedule, that mattered to me personally." He paused before continuing. "Our contract has a key personnel clause. If the primary relationship manager changes, we have the right to review and potentially terminate the agreement. I will be invoking that clause today." By 11 a.m., Thomas Fitzgerald had also called, his characteristic directness even more pronounced than usual. "Jessica, what the hell is going on over there? Some kid who sounds fresh out of college just tried to tell me he is our new account manager. He could not answer basic questions about our security protocols." I explained the situation again, feeling a strange sense of detachment now, as if I were describing something that had happened to someone else. "Well, that is about the stupidest thing I have ever heard a company do," Thomas declared. "Fire the person who just brought in their biggest clients of the year, right before paying them. Classic corporate short-sightedness." He continued without waiting for my response. "I do not do business with companies that treat their people this way. It says everything about how they will treat their customers when times get tough. I will be calling their CEO directly after we hang up." As the day progressed, I realized I faced an ethical dilemma. I had no desire to sabotage Meridian out of spite despite how they had treated me. These clients deserved good service regardless of my personal situation. At the same time, I felt a responsibility to ensure a smooth transition for their sake, even if Meridian had made that nearly impossible. After careful consideration, I decided to send a professional email to Marcus with recommendations for handling each client's specific needs and concerns. It would be one final act of professionalism in the face of their callousness. I would copy the new account managers so they would have the information directly. As I began drafting the email, another realization struck me. These clients had my personal contact information. They were reaching out to me directly because they valued our relationship. In the modern business world, relationships often transcended corporate boundaries. The power dynamic had shifted without me even realizing it. I finished composing the email to Marcus, detailing specific information about each client that would not be found in any CRM system or handover document. I explained Monroe's concerns about their upcoming system integration, Apex's need for specialized security protocols due to financial regulations, and Fitzgerald's history of implementation failures with previous vendors. Then came the decision that would change everything. Instead of just copying the new account managers, I added Laura, Michael, and Thomas to the CC line. It was not malicious. It was not sabotage. It was simply acknowledgement of the reality that these relationships existed whether Meridian recognized them or not. In the email, I included a brief factual explanation of my departure. As you may be aware, my position at Meridian was eliminated on Friday as part of cost-cutting measures before quarterly reporting. The bonus I was promised for bringing in these clients was described as an expired subscription, since I am no longer employed there. I read the email 3 times to ensure it contained only facts, no emotional language, no attempt to disparage the company. Satisfied that it was professional and appropriate, I hit send. Within minutes, my phone began ringing non-stop. The first call came from a number I did not recognize. I let it go to voicemail, still processing what I had just done. The message notification appeared seconds later, and curiosity compelled me to listen. Jessica, this is Andrew Bailey. We need to talk immediately. Please call me back at this number as soon as possible. This is extremely urgent. The CEO of Meridian Technologies calling my personal phone within minutes of my sending that email. His voice contained something I had never heard from him before: panic. Before I could decide whether to return his call, another voicemail notification appeared, this one from Marcus. Jessica, whatever you do, do not speak to any of the clients until we have a chance to discuss this situation. Please call me back immediately. The senior leadership team is in an emergency meeting right now. My phone continued ringing with calls from Meridian's main office number from Marcus from numbers I did not recognize. Text messages began appearing as well, each more urgent than the last. I set the phone down and took a deep breath, trying to make sense of the sudden flurry of communication from a company that had so unceremoniously discarded me 3 days earlier. After nearly an hour of continuous calls, I received an email from Laura at Monroe. Jessica just wanted you to know that I have put a hold on all payments to Meridian pending clarification of our account management situation. The way they treated you is completely unacceptable, especially after everything you did to make this partnership work. I have a call scheduled with their CEO in 30 minutes. We'll keep you posted. Similar emails arrived from Michael at Apex and Thomas at Fitzgerald within the hour. All 3 had independently taken action to protect their interests in light of the information I had shared. I had not asked them to do this. I had not suggested they should reconsider their relationships with Meridian. I had simply shared the truth, and they had drawn their own conclusions. At 2 p.m., a text arrived from Stephanie. OMG, what did you do? The entire executive team has been in the conference room for hours. Andrew is losing it. Diana looks like she is about to be sick. What happened? I texted back. I sent an email to Marcus with client handover information and copied the clients. Holy shit, she replied. Monroe, Apex, and Fitzgerald all called within minutes of each other, demanding explanations and threatening to pull their contracts. The stock is already taking a hit as rumors spread about client instability. There is talk of an emergency board meeting tomorrow. A strange calm settled over me. This was not the vengeful satisfaction I might have imagined in my darkest moments after being fired. This was something more profound, the recognition of my true value, of the power of authentic relationships in business, of the fundamental mistake Meridian had made in treating people as disposable resources. At 4:30 p.m., exactly 72 hours after I had received the calendar invitation that ended my career at Meridian, Andrew Bailey called again. This time I answered. "Jessica, thank you for taking my call." His voice was strained, attempting professionalism but unable to fully mask his desperation. "We seem to have a situation that requires immediate resolution." "Yes, it appears we do," I replied, matching his formal tone. "Our key clients seem to be under the impression that your departure was somehow improper or reflects negatively on Meridian. I need your help in correcting this misunderstanding." "There is no misunderstanding, Andrew. I shared factual information about my termination. They drew their own conclusions." He paused, clearly recalibrating his approach. "Perhaps we could meet to discuss how to move forward in a mutually beneficial way. Tomorrow morning, perhaps." "I am available," I said, "but I prefer a neutral location, not the Meridian office." "Of course. There is a coffee shop, Elysian Brew on Maple Street. Would 9 a.m. work for you?" "I will be there." After hanging up, I received another text from Stephanie Board, called an emergency meeting for 7 a.m. tomorrow. "Something big is happening. Be careful, Jessica. They are scared, and scared executives make unpredictable decisions." That evening, I prepared for the meeting with the same diligence I had always brought to client presentations. I gathered copies of all communications regarding my bonus, including the original incentive announcement, emails confirming my eligibility, and congratulatory messages from leadership after each client signing. I also printed the termination email with the expired subscription language that had so perfectly encapsulated the company's attitude toward employee contributions. I selected my outfit carefully, a charcoal gray suit that projected professionalism without ostentation, the same one I had worn to secure the Fitzgerald contract. I rehearsed what I would say, focusing on facts rather than emotions, on solutions rather than recriminations. This meeting was not about revenge, it was about recognition. As I finally drifted off to sleep, my phone chimed with an email notification. It was from Thomas Fitzgerald, sent to Andrew Bailey with copies to Laura Thompson, Michael Rodriguez, and me. "Andrew, after our conversation today, I remain deeply concerned about Meridian's commitment to the partnership we established. Jessica Parker was instrumental in building our trust in your company, and her sudden departure, combined with the troubling details of how it was handled, calls into question the values upon which we based our decision to work with you. The three of us will be on a call at 8:30 tomorrow morning to discuss our collective response. I suggest you come prepared with substantial solutions, not explanations." The chess pieces were moving, and for the first time since Friday afternoon, I was not merely a pawn being sacrificed. I was a player with agency, with power, with options. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. Elysian Brew was my suggestion for a reason. It was where I had first met with Laura Thompson from Monroe Enterprises, where we had connected over her son's college aspirations and my alma mater. It was neutral territory, but symbolically significant, at least to me. I arrived 20 minutes early, secured a table in the corner with good sightlines to the entrance, and ordered a black coffee. At precisely 8:55 a.m., Andrew Bailey entered. The contrast between his appearance and my last memory of him at the office was striking. His usually immaculate suit was slightly rumpled, his tie askew. Dark circles under his eyes suggested a sleepless night. He scanned the room anxiously before spotting me and making his way over. "Jessica, thank you for meeting me," he said, extending his hand. I shook it briefly, noting the clamminess of his palm. He sat down across from me, declining my offer to order him coffee. "I want to get straight to the point. We have a serious situation that requires immediate resolution." "Yes, we do," I agreed, maintaining the calm, professional demeanor I had practiced. "The email you sent yesterday has created significant confusion among our clients. They seem to believe that your departure reflects some kind of impropriety on Meridian's part, which is simply not the case. Business decisions are made every day based on organizational needs." I let the silence hang for a moment before responding. "I shared factual information, Andrew. I did not encourage any client to take action against Meridian." "But you must have known how they would react," he countered, a hint of accusation creeping into his voice. "You deliberately copied all three clients on internal communication." "Those relationships have always been built on transparency," I replied. And since I was no longer a Meridian employee, I wanted to ensure a smooth transition for clients who have placed their trust in me. Andrew's expression darkened. Some might view that as deliberate sabotage, Jessica. The timing and manner of your communication could be interpreted as an attempt to damage Meridian's client relationships. This was the moment I had prepared for. Without a word, I removed the folder from my bag and slid a printed email across the table. It was the termination notice from Diana, with the expired subscription language highlighted in yellow. If we are discussing inappropriate communications, perhaps we should start here. Andrew's eyes widened as he read the email. His face paled visibly as he reached the highlighted phrase. This is not language I would have approved, he said, finally pushing the paper away as if it were contaminated. Yet it came from your HR director copying you directly, I pointed out. And it perfectly encapsulates how Meridian now views its relationship with employees who have contributed significantly to the company's success. Jessica, there has clearly been a serious breakdown in our processes. Diana exceeded her authority in this matter. The decision to reduce headcount came from the board, but the execution was flawed. Flawed execution does not explain denying a contractually promised bonus for bringing in $12 million in new business, I said, my voice remaining steady despite the emotion bubbling beneath the surface. Andrew ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration I had never seen from him in our 6 years of working together. The bonus structure is more complicated than you realize. The financial situation at Meridian has been challenging. Difficult decisions had to be made. So, the decision was made to eliminate positions of employees with pending bonuses just before quarterly reporting to improve the appearance of the balance sheet, I stated. It was not a question. His silence was confirmation enough. After a moment, he leaned forward. I want to make this right, Jessica. We can bring you back immediately. Senior Client Relationship Manager, 20% increase in base salary, and immediate payment of the bonus you earned. We need you back before the 8:30 call with Fitzgerald, Thompson, and Rodriguez. Now we had arrived at the real purpose of this meeting. I had become a problem that needed solving, a crisis that needed managing, but only because my value had suddenly become clear in the most painful way possible. I appreciate the offer, Andrew, but I do not think returning as an employee is the right solution here. His expression shifted from hopeful to confused. What do you mean, is it the title? We could make it Director of Key Accounts. 30% increase instead of 20. I shook my head. This is not about title or even compensation, though both matter. This is about recognizing the nature of modern business relationships. Monroe Apex and Fitzgerald did not sign with Meridian because of your product or your brand. They signed because of the trust we built together. What are you suggesting? He asked cautiously. I am proposing a consulting arrangement. I will continue to manage these relationships as an independent contractor, not an employee. My company will receive 30% of the annual contract value for account management services with a guaranteed 3-year term. I will also receive the full bonus I was promised for bringing in these clients, paid immediately as a good faith retainer. Andrew stared at me as if I had suggested we fly to the moon. That is unprecedented. The board would never. The board is meeting in an emergency session right now because $12 million in annual revenue is at risk, I interrupted. And in less than 15 minutes, you have a call with 3 clients who are prepared to invoke their contract termination clauses. I think the board might suddenly find this arrangement quite reasonable. This feels like extortion, he said, a flash of the old corporate authority returning to his voice. I remained calm. This is business, Andrew. I am offering a solution that addresses everyone's needs. The clients get the relationship management they value. Meridian keeps the contracts and revenue. And I receive fair compensation for the value I create. If you have a better solution that satisfies all parties, I am happy to hear it. His phone buzzed with a calendar reminder. 10 minutes until the client call. He looked from the phone to me, the reality of his situation visibly sinking in. I will need to get board approval, he said finally. Of course, I understand corporate governance requirements, but I suspect they will see the wisdom in this approach given the alternatives. 5 minutes before the call, Andrew stepped outside to speak with the board chair. Through the window, I could see the intensity of his gestures, the frequent glances back toward me. When he returned, his demeanor had changed. The panic was gone, replaced by a resigned acceptance. The board has authorized me to accept your proposal in principle subject to legal documentation. They would like the client call to proceed with you participating as a consultant to Meridian. I nodded. I will join the call. But the legal documents need to be expedited and the retainer payment processed immediately. Understood, he said, extending his hand again. This time his grip was firm, his palm dry. The power dynamic had shifted completely and we both knew it. The client call went smoothly. I explained that while I was no longer a Meridian employee, I would continue managing their accounts through a new consulting arrangement that provided even greater dedicated attention to their needs. The relief in their voices was palpable. By the end of the call, all three had rescinded their holds on payments and contract reviews. As we prepared to leave the coffee shop, Andrew paused. Jessica, I want you to know that I had no idea about the bonus situation. I have been too removed from day-to-day operations. That will change. I hope it does, Andrew, for everyone's sake. He nodded, a flicker of genuine regret crossing his features. The irony is not lost on me. In trying to save money before quarterly reporting, we nearly lost our biggest clients and ended up paying you substantially more than the bonus would have cost. Sometimes the most expensive phrase in business is expired subscription, I replied. 6 months have passed since that pivotal meeting at Elysian Brew, and my life has transformed in ways I never imagined when I received that calendar invitation to Conference Room C. My consulting business, Parker Client Solutions, now manages relationships not just for Monroe, Apex, and Fitzgerald, but for 2 additional former Meridian clients who requested to work with me when their contracts came up for renewal. The transition was not without challenges. Creating systems, processes, and documentation for my new business, while maintaining seamless service for clients, required 16-hour days for the first 2 months. I hired an assistant, then an associate, and now have a team of 4 professionals who share my philosophy of relationship-centered business. My relationship with Meridian evolved as well. After the initial agreement was signed, and the retainer paid exactly matching the bonus I had been denied, I expected minimal contact with the company beyond necessary coordination. Instead, Andrew instituted regular strategy sessions where my team and Meridian's implementation specialists collaborate to ensure client success. The antagonism of those early days has been replaced by a grudging mutual respect. Diana Foster is no longer with Meridian. Andrew described her departure as a mutual decision to pursue other opportunities, but Stephanie told me the board had demanded accountability for the near-catastrophic loss of $12 million in annual revenue. Her replacement, a former client success executive who understands the value of human connections, has begun rebuilding the company culture. Marcus was promoted to Chief Client Officer, a new position created to ensure client relationships receive appropriate priority in all business decisions. In our first meeting after my departure, he apologized for his silence during my termination. I should have spoken up, he admitted. I knew it was wrong, but I was afraid for my own position. Fear makes us complicit in things we would never choose otherwise, I told him. The important thing is that you are making changes now. The financial impact of these events on my life has been profound. The immediate payment of my earned bonus eliminated my student loan debt entirely. The consulting fees, substantially higher than my former salary, allowed me to purchase not just a home but my dream home, a renovated Victorian with a garden and office space for my growing business. For the first time in my adult life, I have financial security and the freedom to make choices based on what fulfills me rather than what pays the bills. But the most valuable lessons from this experience were not financial. I learned truths about business relationships and myself that have fundamentally changed how I navigate the professional world. First, I learned the crucial importance of documentation. Every email confirming my bonus eligibility, every congratulatory message after a client signing, every written promise from leadership became vital evidence when the company attempted to rewrite history. In business, memory is selective, but documentation is undeniable. I now maintain meticulous records of all agreements, promises, and significant conversations, not from paranoia, but from wisdom. Second, I discovered the true power of authentic relationships over corporate policy. Monroe, Apex, and Fitzgerald did not have loyalty to Meridian as an entity. They had trust in me as a person who consistently demonstrated care for their needs. In an age where products and services are increasingly commoditized, Genuine human connection remains irreplaceable. Companies that treat relationship builders as expendable assets fundamentally misunderstand modern business dynamics. Third, I found strength in maintaining dignity under pressure. During the termination meeting, the weekend of grief that followed, and the confrontation with Andrew, I never lowered myself to pettiness or revenge. By focusing on facts rather than emotions, on solutions rather than recriminations, I retained my professional integrity even when others abandoned theirs. That integrity has become the foundation of my new business and its growing reputation. Fourth, I embraced the courage to stand up for what is right, even when doing so is frightening. Sending that email with clients copied was terrifying. Meeting with Andrew proposing my consulting arrangement, instead of gratefully accepting reinstatement, required courage I did not know I possessed. But each act of courage strengthened my confidence in my own judgment and value. The healing journey from betrayal to empowerment was not linear. There were days, even after the consulting agreement was signed, when anger would resurface unexpectedly. Times when the memory of being escorted from the building by security would bring tears of humiliation. Moments when I questioned whether I deserved the success I had found. Therapy helped. So did conversations with others who had experienced similar corporate betrayals. Gradually, the sharp edges of those memories dulled. The experience became not just a painful episode, but a transformative one, a dividing line between who I was and who I became. Now, when I mentor young professionals starting their careers, I offer this perspective. Corporate loyalty is transactional, not emotional. Companies will celebrate your contributions when they align with quarterly objectives, and forget them when priorities shift. This is not malice, it is the nature of institutions. The most valuable currency in business is not title or even compensation, but relationships built on consistent value creation and mutual respect. There is deep satisfaction in receiving not just the compensation I earned, but recognition of my true worth. When Monroe recently expanded their contract, Laura Thompson told me, "Working with you is the best business decision I have ever made." When Fitzgerald Global featured our partnership in their annual report, Thomas wrote, "Some consultants have clients. Jessica Parker has partners." These affirmations mean more than the numbers in my bank account, though those numbers have certainly changed my life. They represent the validation of my approach to business, that treating people as humans first and business contacts second creates more sustainable value for everyone involved. Sometimes I think about that HR email with its coldly dismissive language, "expired subscription." In trying to devalue my contribution with that phrase, Diana inadvertently revealed the fundamental flaw in how many companies view their people as temporary subscriptions to be renewed or canceled based on short-term financial calculations. The greatest irony is that in attempting to cut costs by eliminating my position and bonus, Meridian ultimately created a far more expensive arrangement for themselves. The consulting fees they now pay my company significantly exceed what my salary and bonus would have cost. Short-term thinking rarely produces optimal long-term results. I built my new life and business on this understanding. My team members receive profit sharing, not just salaries. Our client agreements include relationship continuity guarantees. We invest in long-term value creation rather than quarterly metrics. And we are thriving in ways that would not have been possible had I remained within the constraints of traditional corporate structures. If you have ever had your contributions devalued, your promises broken, your loyalty exploited, know this. Your worth is not determined by how others value you, but by the genuine impact you create. Sometimes the greatest opportunity comes disguised as rejection. Sometimes the most powerful position is outside the system that failed to recognize your value. Have you ever had your contributions dismissed or devalued at work? How did you respond? I would love to hear your stories in the comments. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences and lessons learned the hard way. And remember, your greatest power often lies in the relationships you build, not the title on your business card. Thank you for listening to my story, and may you never allow anyone to treat your value as an expired subscription.